Recorded Books and RB Digital present Thendara House by Marion Zimmer Bradley. Narrated by Alyssa Bresnahan. Part 1. Conflicting Oaths. Chapter 1. Magdalen Lorne. Light feathers of snow were falling overhead, but toward the east there was a break in the clouds where the dull reddish light of Cotman IV, the son of Darkover, called the Bloody Sun by the Terran Empire, could be seen dimly through clouds, like a great bloodshot eye. Magdalen Lorne shivered a little as she walked slowly up the approach to the Terran HQ. She was in Darkovan dress, so she had to show her ident cards to the Space Force people at the gates, but one of them knew her by sight. "It's all right, Miss Lorne. You'll have to go over to the new building, though." "They finally finished the new headquarters for intelligence?" The uniformed man nodded. "That's right. And the new chief came in from Alpha Centauri the other day. Have you met her yet?" This was news to Magda. Darkover was a closed planet, Class B, which meant Terrans were, officially at least, restricted to certain treaty zones and trade cities. There was no official intelligence service, except for a small office in records and communications, working directly out of the coordinator's office. "It's about time they opened a branch of intelligence here. They could do with a department of alien anthropology, too." Then Magda wondered what it would mean to her own somewhat irregular status. She had been born on Darkover, in Caer Don, where the Terrans had built their first spaceport before shifting to the new Empire headquarters here in Thendara. She had been reared among Darkovans, before the new policy of standardization of spaceport buildings to Empire normal yellow lights, a policy making little or no provision for the red sun of Darkover and the fierce cold of the climate. This, of course, made sense for Empire personnel stationed on ordinary Empire planets, who seldom stayed in one post more than a year or so and didn't need to acclimatize themselves. But conditions on Darkover were, to say the least, unusual for an Empire planet. Magda's parents had been linguists who had spent much of their lives in Caer Don. She had grown up more Darkovan than Terran, one of only 3 or 4 people who spoke the language like a native and were capable of doing undercover research into customs and language. She had never been away from Darkover, except for 3 years of schooling in the Empire's intelligence school on Alpha Colony. Then she had accepted a position in communications as a matter of course. But what had been, to her superiors, only convenient disguise, fitting her for research and undercover work on the planet of her birth, had become to Magda her deepest self. And it is to that Darkovan self, Margalie, not Magda, that I must now be true. And not just Margalie, but Margalie Nha Isabet, renunciate of the Comhai Letzii, what the Terrans would call free Amazon. That is what I am now, and must be henceforth. Mendaya Pregiuro. Magda whispered to herself the first words of the renunciate's oath, and shivered. It would not be easy. But as she had sworn, so would she do. To a Terran, an oath given under duress wasn't binding. Darkovan, the oaths bind me without question. The very thought of escaping it dishonorable. She wrenched her thoughts from that endless loop in her mind. A new section for intelligence, he had said, and a new chief. Probably, Magda thought with a resigned shrug, someone who knew considerably less about the job than she did herself. She and her ex-husband, Peter Haldane, had both been born here, were naturally bilingual, knew and accepted the customs as their own. But that wasn't the way the Empire did things. The new intelligence office was in a tall skyscraper, still shining with newness, high above the port. By the terra-normal yellow lights, too bright for Magda's eyes.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?